Hi everyone, this is the VantageRM weekly update. It's Sunday night right now. It's August the 23rd, and I'm updating the video right now about 8:52. VantageRM again is a company that is looking for risk. Where's the risk at? Trying to manage risk, especially for people who handle risk or have risk in the marketplace. So sometimes people that are speculating, they actually have risk in the market. So some of the stuff that we go through and some of the market indicators that we use are appropriate even for that, mainly to help people get out of situations. You know, it's easy to get in the market. It's sometimes pretty hard to pull the trigger and say that I'm out of it. All right, so we're going to go through this and kind of show you what's going on here tonight on Sunday night here at almost 9 o'clock. There's a lot happening, and the markets are moving quite a bit. So let's go through and show you that as we kick this update off. I'm going to start first of all with showing you how the markets are trading tonight. We'll start up here with the outside markets. This is the stock market, the Dow Jones 30 at night. This is the futures contract, so it's up 32 points. We've got the dollar currently up 36 points. Crude oil's down $1.75. That's about 50 cents off the low. Now, what's going on there is that the secretary is, our Secretary Bassett is going to make an announcement tomorrow regarding additional sanctions against Iran. So the market taking a little bit of froth out of this because it may be that Iran is not able to meet those requirements. And so, again, putting pressure on could slowly bring an end to what's happening with the Strait of Hormuz. We'll have to wait and see how that plays out. The diesel contract, that's here. It's down 8 cents. We've got gasoline down 4.5. We're looking at the gold market currently down $7, and the silver market's off 90 cents. Now let's look at the grain markets because they're the ones that's moving tonight. The Pro Farmer Tour ended on Friday and came out with an announcement and said that the corn yield would be 173.2 bushels to the acre. And that is why we're seeing the market up for 12.5 cents. Now, the USDA, remember, they came out at 180.7. So this is a substantially different number than what Pro Farmer has. Now, I don't think many in the trade believe it's going to be as low as Pro Farmer is saying. The way the Pro Farmer Tour works, of course, is they just drive down the road and they have these fields that they use every year, and then they're looking at the difference compared to what it was last year. Kernel size, weight is not really being calculated. Kernel weight's not being calculated, but they are going through and calculating what they believe the number of rows are, what the number of kernels are, what the bushel per acre would be accordingly. And then they compare it to what it was in prior years. Now, in prior years, when you go back and look at their results, they have a tendency to be off. In 2005, for instance, they were off by 13 bushels. They were 13 bushels too low. Nobody thinks that's the case this year, and I'm certainly not. I'm not wanting to do anything to disparage the Pro Farmer Tour at all. What I do want to point out is that the Pro Farmer Tour is a very small sampling. Their total acreage that they actually sample is less than 4 acres. That's out of 58 million in those states. So when you look at it from that standpoint, there's a lot of things that could be different. And so the real question that the trade has to figure out is, where is that number going to come in on the September 11th WASDA? And I would just say that right now it's going to be lower than 180.7. Almost everybody in the trade believes that. So the question that people are asking me is, what price or what yield is $5.20 trading? And I would say that the 5.20 per bushel level, if you hold demand exactly as it is, that would be somewhere in the neighborhood of a 177 bushel yield per acre. So anywhere in that 177, 179 is probably where the range is that the market is trading when it's trading 520. So if we start to see that market go up much above this level, it's really going to be telling us that it's trading below that 177, 178 area. And that is going to be where everybody comes down to the nitty gritty, I guess, when we get to the September 11th WASDA report. So big things happening there. That volume, by the way, is massive. 95,000 contracts. Yeah, that's about half the volume we do in a normal day. So that really is huge. at just 2 hours into the market. Soybeans, the number was the other direction. They came in at 53.3. The USDA is at 53, so it's one of those things where the number's not near what the the USDA has, or a higher number than what the USDA has, and that's why we're seeing some pressure here on the beans. The question I always have in a report like this is the corn report more bullish than the bean report is bearish. In other words, can the bullishness of the corn report drag the beans higher? And you can see that right now we're off of the lows by about 5 cents, and we're off the highs here about 1.5 pennies. So I think the verdict is still out here, how this will end as we go through the day on Monday, but it's something certainly to watch. Notice that the bean oil is down $1.60 with meal up $1.70, and that has the crush margins down about 8 cents tonight, which is a pretty good move for the crush. In the wheat, we're up 13 1/4 there, and we've got the rice market, which has really got El Nino is, if you look at all the crops, El Nino is the one that could have the biggest impact on rice. That is because of its impact on the Asian crops and rainfall. So there's some news out of India that came out last week that is supportive, and that's why the rice market has done what it's done. Cotton market's down about 39. It's up against a resistance point. And that is all I'm going to show you tonight. I'm just going to go through the markets, how they're trading, talk you through a little bit of what's happening there. And what I'll do is I'll come back again in next week and kind of show you what's happening there as we look at the markets and watch them. But for risk analysis this week, you've got to watch the market really, really close. Where we're in trouble, if you're long the market in corn, is 510. A move under 510 would say that there's something different going on. And of course, in the soybeans, if the beans really start to get hit and start to get drugged down, I think they will affect the corn as well. So make sure you're watching both of those. And that's going to do it for now. We'll have an update for you next week. So long, everyone.